The idea being that round about once a decade, something pretty seismic will have happened to you. So what shaped you?
Good question. I suppose one of the biggest things that has shaped myself, and maybe not a lot of people know this, is that I was born into a very religious background. So I was born into the Jehovah's Witnesses group.
Okay.
And that was a very different upbringing to, let's say, what my daughter's got now. We were very strictly religious. We would have church meetings on a Thursday, a Tuesday, and on a Sunday. We would go, I'm sure everybody's had this at some point, knock on the door, you open the door, and it's the Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, we used to do that. And
the difference being now you've got a Rufus flyer. Yeah. You've got Kempton installations.
Let me tell you, if you can sell the Bible, you can definitely sell roofing. And so being part of that had lots of positives and a few negatives. And let's stick to the positives. And what being part of that group did for me, as a young lad, you would be asked to maybe read a couple of pages of the Bible and then try and describe that to a group of maybe 200, 250 people. And I suppose as I've grown up, that has kind of carried through, and I've always been relatively confident, I think. I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I've been relatively confident at speaking in front of people. And that gave me structure to my life. It gave me kind of rules and regulations that we all abided to, and in that regard it had a really positive effect on my outlook. And what I mean by that was that Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate Christmas, they don't celebrate birthdays. As a kid, we weren't allowed to go into assemblies in the morning. So 5 or 6 years at primary school, we'd be sitting in the class. When I say we, I've got 2 sisters and a younger brother. So they'd obviously be in different classes. But every morning, we'd spend 20, 30 minutes on our own for 5 or 6 years.
So feeling different by definition.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes if you had a standing teacher, you'd have to stand up and go, "Miss, I can't go into assembly because I'm a Jehovah's Witness." And that has really taught me to be able to stand on my own 2 feet and not follow the crowd. And it's taught me that I can do without, because we'd go back to school after Christmas and people would be talking about the Christmas presents and the Star Wars things and the He-Man, whatever it was. And we didn't have that. And I never really missed that because we never really had it.
Yeah.
But what it's done to me as an adult, it's learnt me that it's taught me that I don't need materialistic stuff. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can run a business.
Yeah.
If for want of a better word, the shit hits the fan, then I can deal with it.
Or periods of austerity or whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then may I ask, what happened in terms of the family shift, whereby your parents brought you up in that way, but it sounds like, reading between the lines, you don't bring Eva up in the same way.
Yeah, correct. So we left what they call the Jehovah's Witnesses when I was around about 12, so I was born into it, and that has a profound effect on you when everybody's moving in the same direction. Everybody you socialise with believes in this one thing. When we were 12, Mum and Dad decided to leave that. At the time, I didn't realise, but my mum and dad were quite wild when they were younger. And I was brought up in this idyllic religious life. The grass was cut every weekend. We had lovely flowers in the garden. Mum was a stay-at-home housewife. The house was immaculate. My dad had a job in a factory, used to ride to work on a moped. Everything was neat and tidy. We had structure, we had regularity. And when we came out of that, my mum and dad were very young when they had me. They were early 20s, 21.
Yeah. Are they still both with us?
They are both with us.
Yeah.
They're not together currently, but they are both here. I'm lucky to have both of them around. And let's just say we went from one life to another. My dad had a bit of a colourful background when we were teenagers, and I saw 2 different sides to life.
And do you want to say a bit more about what happened to your dad to make that transition happen, or maybe you don't?
Dad was made redundant when I was about 12 or 13. He set up his own window cleaning round. He did that part-time, and shall we say, he had sticky fingers, and he had a colourful background, shall we say.
Sure.
And that was a very different way of life to what we were brought up in, I'll be honest, at the time when I was a teenager, I was so happy to get out of this religious kind of thing. But I suppose my point is trying to bring this story full circle, is that we had an idyllic life and then we had a very chaotic
yes
few years.
So both sides of the tracks were experienced.
Absolutely.